Hi, my name is Jack,
I'm Zach.
and we're from Bealby Point, and you're watching or listening to Mikey's Untitled Music Show.
Welcome to Mikey's Untitled Music Show, guys. Today we're going to dive into the musical minds of the band Bealby Point. How you doing, guys?
Doing
Good.
good, man. Thanks for having us,
Yeah.
Mikey.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on, guys. I really appreciate it. Today, we're gonna try to get into your creativity and what molded your musical mind, and we're gonna get into that. Could you please introduce yourselves and tell us what instrument or what you do for the band, please?
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Jack. Hello. I play guitar in the band, rhythm guitar, and I'm also the lead singer.
And my name is Zach. Yes, our names rhyme. And I play drums and background vocals in the band.
Beautiful. Thank you. And can you tell us are there any other band members?
Yeah, so we're a four-piece band, so they're not with us right now, but our lead guitar player, his name is Clay, and then our bass player, his name is Jordan.
Okay. And how did the band start, guys?
So the band started in 2018. We formed, and the story is kind of funny. The way it worked out was Zach and Clay, who Zach's right here, and then our lead guitar player Clay. They had sort of started their own sort of band. They called it Bilby Point. It was just the two of them, and they were jamming together, writing songs and making music. Unbeknownst to me and Jordan, who's the bass player in our band, we were also jamming, just the two of us separately, and
Hmm.
sort of doing cover songs and whatnot.
Right down the street.
Right down the street, yeah. So we Jordan's lived on the same street as Clay. And so I would be at Jordan's house with Jordan, mostly at the same time as these guys would be at Clay's house playing music, jamming, and they were drums and guitar, and they would both sing. And then Jordan and I would play guitar, he'd play bass, or he'd play guitar as well, and I would sing. And so we were two different groups of two playing like down the street from each other. And then
Yeah.
eventually, these guys actually ended up, Zach and Clay ended up releasing some music under the name Bilby Point on SoundCloud, I guess it was,
Yeah,
to
it's
start.
scrubbed from the internet now. You'll never find it.
Yeah, it's old. It's old,
Aw.
old. Their first original songs that they wrote. And Jordan and I, through a mutual friend, like heard that they were doing that, and we found it on Facebook, I think, because we had known each other. We grew up in North Vancouver all together, so we knew of each other, and we were like somewhat friends, but weren't very close at all. But like we
Mhm.
knew that they were doing this, and we found
Yeah.
out about it, and we were like, "This is so cool! Like they're writing music, they're playing in a band. Like we want to do that." Because Jordan and I were both doing the same thing. We weren't really writing music, but we were playing cover songs, and like we really wanted to be in a band. So then eventually, after we heard their songs that were posted online, at a mutual friends get together, Clay we I approached Clay and I was like, "Hey, I heard you and Zach's like songs, like those are awesome. Like, how do you guys do that?" And we just kind of got to talking, and he said,
Mhm.
"If you want to come over and check it out sometime, like we just record stuff in my basement, like you can come jam with us or something." And me
Mhm.
and Jordan were like, "Let's do it." So we went over there, and then the rest is history. We played a jam, and we all played together for the first time, and it was sort of just everything clicked, and then we were in the band, and then that's how it kind of started, at least from my perspective. But
Yeah,
that's
I mean, we we knew each other from like parties and stuff or like
Mhm.
mutual friends, and when we released those songs, we desperately wanted other people to play with, and we had a few people kind of come in and out. Never really clicked, or those people didn't want what we wanted in the end. And when Jack and Jordan came over, it was kind of like, I don't know, it was a meant to be moment for sure. As soon as they left, I was like, Clay, we gotta get these guys in our band. Like they've
Mhm.
got it. We got to get them to believe in this and got to work on this together. And little did I know that they were saying the same thing to each other after they left. So, wasn't hard to convince them to get into the band. And yeah, we
Yeah.
pretty much started right off from there and started playing shows and writing our own songs.
Damn, that's awesome. Like you guys were always close to each other, but just
Play.
so close but so far away. Exactly.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
so close but so far.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
it's awesome because I mean, we're very lucky. We've all become best friends through it, and I know that's not the case in a lot of bands. So, we're very fortunate in that way. It definitely was meant to be for us.
Jack, what's one of the earliest memories you have of of using your musical creativity, or yeah, using your creativity with music, or maybe first picked up an instrument. Do you remember?
Yeah, I so when I was quite young, I would have been like 4 years old or maybe five. I started taking piano lessons. My parents put me and my older brother into piano lessons. So I was learning piano from a very young age, and that's sort of where my musical journey started. And I continued to learn piano and take lessons, and it was all classical piano through like the Royal Conservatory of Music program. That's where it all started for me. And I guess early days of that was just playing songs out of books that they give you, obviously, but then exploring outside of the books and exploring outside of what they're teaching me and like sort of not writing my own songs, but like adding my own flair to certain songs or like, in my teens, like going on YouTube and looking up piano tutorials of songs and learning other songs. Like
Mm.
that's like the original sort of basis of my musical creativity. I guess I started like branching out from what I was being taught and learning new things. And obviously, anyone can go on YouTube and look up a tutorial and learn how to play. But when you have some practice and some schooling, like it just comes a little easier. So I was
Mhm.
able to play stuff, like learn new songs. And I was like, oh, this is not too hard for me. I kind of know the basics of it, and I can kind of go from here. And I excelled doing that, and kept playing piano, and then picked up guitar in my mid-teens, and then sort of transitioned down that avenue and switch that up. I also played early elementary school. I guess I would have been like 10. In fifth grade, I started playing trombone in my elementary school band. And that's another early memory I have of like, going to early morning jazz band rehearsals at school and like getting up and doing the carpool with my friends over to jazz band class with the
Yeah.
trumpet and the trombones and saxes. And that was also another formative thing for me with music because it was playing with an ensemble as opposed to playing solo piano stuff. When you're playing with a group of musicians, it's a much different experience than just playing on your own. You're in time with each other. You're reading music together as you go through the song.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say those would be like the formative creative experiences for me picking up music and learning.
Jack, I'm sorry, Zach, do you remember when you first started using your musical creativity?
Yeah, mine's a little different. I was never in band. I didn't even really start playing drums until I was like 16. But I always loved music. I grew up in like a musical household. And my first time that I remember wanting to play drums was playing Rock Band, the video game
Mm-hmm.
with Clay, ironically. And I was like, oh, I'm actually not half bad at this game. And after a while,
It's all just a game,
it's all
isn't
just
it?
a game. Clay's family actually ended up buying a an electric drum kit, and I remember going out over to his house when we were young and in our early teens, and he was playing guitar, and I was like, oh, I'll hop behind this thing. It can't be much harder
Mm.
than Rock Band, and yeah, that's basically how I started playing drums. Was just kind of screwing around with him and on an electric drum kit. And from there, basically self-taught until I was older, and then eventually took some lessons and just kind of kept to it. But it was one of those things like once I picked up the sticks, it just felt very natural, and I've never been able to put them down since.
Mhm. And I think the rock band stuff is formative for a lot of people. Like even
Definitely,
for me,
Yeah.
like I was playing Guitar Hero, like
he's
when
a
those
Guitar
games were
Hero
coming out.
guy.
Well, I played Rock Band as well. I played drums on Rock Band, but I played Guitar
Sure.
Hero guitar, and I like I'd come home from school every day and just play that game for hours and hours and hours, and like those formative. And you also learn a lot of music in
Yeah,
those games, which is the cool thing because
very
all those songs,
exploratory.
yeah, all those songs in those games are like classic, awesome rock songs from all types of eras, like 60s, 70s, 80s, like music
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, you don't really hear that music if you're like a 11-year-old kid, like you're
Hmm.
not playing that music at home necessarily for yourself. But if you're playing Rock Band or you're playing Guitar Hero, you're getting those songs like drilled into your head.
Yeah.
And
Every
they're
single
classic.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they're classic, like amazing songs. So it's funny because I feel like a lot of people of our generation would have that same experience of like playing Rock Band or playing Guitar Hero and like
Yeah.
learning these songs and being like, this is awesome. Like I'm in a band because you're in a band when you play those games with your friends, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. I remember playing Rock Band with my friends and Guitar Hero. I only had the guitar. Well, I mean, it's Guitar Hero, so with the guitar, I
Mhm.
remember or Guitar Hero 2, More Than a Feeling. Uh, and I would love playing that song, dude. That was like my
Yeah.
favorite song to play, freaking More Than a Feeling. And then like
Yeah.
you go to Freebird and
Then
like
you fail and you
man,
gotta start
you
over
fa-
again.
you fail like crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how when you play like Guitar Hero or Rock Band, like I tried picking it up at a Dave and Buster's. I was
Oh
like
yeah.
maybe like a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Hey kids, check this out," you know, like your dad's a badass kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh look," but like it didn't have a strap though, you know, like the guitar at the
Oh.
time, it didn't have a strap, so I was kind of like, I was still kind of holding it, but I was like, whatever, you know, like it's wrong,
Mhm.
it's Guitar Hero, I'll get it, bro. I was terrible. I was playing hard. Uh,
Yeah.
I was just playing hard, and I went to medium, and I was like, God damn, like you forget how many hours you actually fucking put into that game.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah. Big time.
and my friends and I would also play Rock Band. And I would actually sing. I would play the guitar and I would do the singing for
Mhm.
Rock
Yeah.
Band.
Yeah. I
And
used to do that too.
like just the tones and like getting like a 90% on like one of
Impossible.
those like songs like in like
It's
singing,
rigged.
bro, it's like but it's so fun. Like
Mhm.
it's funny how you're not the first band or you know the first guy to tell me like oh it first started with Rock Band or Guitar
Yeah.
Hero. So that's amazing. That's funny.
Yeah. It's a common story these days, I'm sure. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's awesome. I love it.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, it's awesome. I spent many hours in my young age uh on that game. So
Hmm.
it was a good time. Um is there a certain I'll go with Zach. Is there a certain like artist or genre that you first listened to, like mine, um, that kind of like opened your musical mind and or like you know led it to finding other music? Like mine was The Doors.
Hmm.
I listened to The Spy when I was like 18. My I had a buddy that or like I had a friend she had put it on and you know like if anybody's listening right now they've already heard this story but um they like I she put it on she said like hey have you ever listened to The Doors and I was like yeah Light My Fire and she goes no like no and she's like you need to listen to this shit and we were like stoned like we're like fucked up pretty much also. So that's probably why it also like had that like extra feeling for me.
Hmm.
But it was a song called The Spy. I don't know if you ever listened to that song. If you have a chance to listen to it, go listen to it, everybody.
Yeah, Zach's a
It's
big Doors fan. I am as well, by proxy, like Zach showing me a lot of songs, but I don't think I've
uh,
actually heard that song, so I'll have to go listen to it after this.
oh yeah, it's amazing. It's a slow it has a blues like guitar riff and the or not really a riff, it's just like it starts with like blues notes and
Mm.
it's just it's so good. It's so
Yeah,
good.
right on, man. Yeah,
But was there a song like that or a genre maybe or artist that, you know, kind of changed your musical your musical life?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's actually more of an experience, I would say. In the early days of the band, we would share all of these artists with each other. I'm a huge Tom Petty fan, like classic rock fan, The Doors and Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and all of those type of bands. But Jack and Jordan were always very big Strokes fans, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Mm.
and I think we were fortunate enough to see the Strokes the first time together. We've seen them a few times now,
hmm
Oh,
but
that's awesome.
we saw them right before COVID lockdown happened in 2020,
Mm.
and I remember we were actually arguing. The four of us were kind of having a dispute at this point over direction of band and roles and other sorts of things, and we went to see the Strokes, and it was like all of the things that Jack was telling me about his vision for our band. I really understood after seeing the Strokes play for the first time. Like it was, I remember having like a transformative experience in that concert. Stoned as well, also drunk. But I remember being there and just I was I just stood there and I just watched them. And I just every song that came on, I was like, wow, this makes so much sense, like what they're doing and how they operate on stage and their songs and everything that they were doing. And I remember me and Clay had like a probably hour and a half talk after the show, just standing in the middle of downtown Vancouver, just talking to each other about it.
Mm.
And I think that was really one of the experiences on my end, especially that really brought us together as a band musically. And now we're all huge Strokes fans. Like
Mhm.
it's one of our favorite bands. You can absolutely hear it on our music if you listen to the
Oh,
Strokes at all.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
Like the first thing I thought, because I try not to read your guys' bios because I really don't want like, I kind of do, but I really don't want to. I want to get it from you guys. I want to get it from the source, if
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
that
Of
makes
course,
sense. That's cool that
absolutely,
you do that. I think that's a good idea. 'Cause then you get
definitely.
like the authentic experience instead of like reading something that, obviously the bio it tells you about us, but talking to us in person, you're gonna get a better impression for sure. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
listening to the music.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like in my music post, whenever I do a spotlight, I pretty much try to go to like a website or try to stay on the Instagram page. So, I kind of don't really, learn too much about the bands. But I
Hmm.
could definitely, the first thing I thought was, oh shit, this kind of sounds like the Strokes, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's amazing that you guys say that because yeah, you can hear it in your music, but it's not a copycat version at all. Like it's you can hear you guys in
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
like it's your style.
Cool.
Um and I thought it was really cool. I remember when the Strokes first came out, I was in high school or maybe they just hadn't come out, but that's when they started getting popular. I was in high school.
Right.
Ooh, long time ago. Um And I remember like the VMAs were like a huge thing back in the day. Like now they're not. It's whatever. But back in the day, the VMAs was like huge. Like if you were on the VMAs, like everybody was watching the VMAs. Like
Hmm.
everybody. And I remember they had a Strokes versus the Vines. Um,
Oh.
like they had the Strokes play on one side, and then they had the Vines play on the other side. And that's when like those bands started coming out, Strokes, Vines, the Hives.
Hmm.
And we actually watched the Hives with who was it? Oh, with Green Day. We went to
Oh, wow.
their last where Green Day played Dookie and Jesus uh I'm sorry, American Idiot in its like entirety.
Cool.
my
Damn.
my two favorite Green Day albums, and they're like my second favorite band behind System of a Down. So that was amazing. But it kind of sucked because the not the Hives were like they put on an amazing show. They put on a great show, and sticking with that with that style, but there wasn't a lot of people there. So they weren't like they kind of came on a little early, and when you're in San Diego, um, like most everybody just tries to get to the headliner.
Yeah.
It's also because it's a big city, you got to find parking, you got to stay in the line, whatever, blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Of course.
But my wife and I try to get there at least, two bands or a band before like the two like closures pretty much.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I felt bad. Like they put on an amazing show, and like the crowd was like they were getting the crowd into it and everything. But it was just like, man, this if this was an hour later, it would have been so much better for the
Yeah.
band.
Yeah. It's a
Not
tough
really for
thing.
us, but like so much better for the band.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough thing with that because, like, it's a common thing we see too in like our own like local indie scene, like people, some bills like 4 5 bands on a bill, like music starts at 7 o'clock, like no
Yeah.
one's really there at 7 o'clock, so it's like it's hard to get people in the door
Yeah.
early for stuff.
And we've been that band before.
Yeah. We've seen it,
Yeah.
with ourselves and with like, we have a little community of bands that we know here, obviously, like we've networked with lots of local bands and like, you go to see them play. It's always good to support whenever you can, but it can feel a little bit discouraging sometimes when you show up and it's like there's 10 people there because it's
Yeah.
like the show's starting at 7 or it's starting at 7:30 and it's just like, oh man,
Yeah.
group is awesome. Like their music's amazing. They're playing so well, but it's just like people, I don't know, they just can't get out that at that time, I guess, that
Yeah.
early, right? So
Yeah.
it's
And
tough.
we try to make it just depends on like what's going on that day, you know.
Hmm.
But we try to make the early bands, like the Linda Lindas. We watch the Linda Lindas like 8 times because they've been opening for all these people here in San Diego and
Cool.
shit. So, you know, like they're really good. They sound great.
Hmm.
But just imagine, I'm sure their time will come, but just imagine like them in like a big crowd kind of thing, you know. I'm sure
Yeah,
they've had
exactly.
those shows as well, you know, but
Hmm.
uh, Jack, what's one of the artists or genres that kind of changed your musical mind?
Well, I would hate to just say the Strokes again, because that's kind of boring. So I guess I'll say like a band that I really loved growing up, that's a bit outside of our genre would be Avenged Sevenfold.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
nice.
know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with them.
Oh yeah, hell
They're
yeah.
actually on tour right now with System of a Down, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, they did a System of a Down came out with like 3 shows.
Yeah,
Um and that they're one of the headliners with that
yeah,
show.
right. So they're
Very
they're
cool.
they're they're doing shows together right now. So, but yeah, they're like a band that I don't know. Their stage presence, all that they all have like nicknames in their band, but they're also like they're ironic nicknames in a way. Like I've heard the stories about it, how like all the metal bands in that scene had like crazy like Deathbringer and like crazy nicknames to all their characters that they play. And so then they made their names kind of as like a joke, sort of like ironically.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just thought that their story was really intriguing, like them being in a band, them kind of taking it seriously, but also having a sort of comedic side to it and being like having fun with it. Like I've watched them break down their songs before, and they kind of they because their songs have some heavier themes. It's all like they have songs like Nightmare and like Critical Acclaim, and like these songs are like they're heavy themed, but they still
Mhm.
have like a very approachable kind of attitude to them, and like they're pretty, from what I can see on the outside, like nice, normal guys. Like it's just like, and they find some humor in it. I think it's really cool, and I guess that's something that I've always thought about with our band is like be these rock stars, like they seem like they're out of this world, or like they're not real people sometimes, but like our kind of ethos is like we're four guys in a band, and like we love music, and we're approachable, and we're just like we're trying to do this because we love it. And I feel like I get the same sort of vibe from those guys, even though they're
Definitely.
they're global superstar massive rock band, but like just the idea of like being yourself, being true to yourself, and just like owning what you do,
Yeah.
and yeah, just being like normal, and not trying to let it get to your head. And I feel like those guys are a good example of that, and that's something I picked up off them, which I try my best to do in our band as well.
Yeah, no leather pants.
Yeah.
And we're
But it is ironic because those guys do that. Like they dressed up, and they still kind of do in a way, but like back when they were starting out, like they were doing like, all the eye makeup and like fedora,
Yeah.
like all that stuff. And like people like would hate on that, but they would just go in deeper on it. And like I just thought, I don't know, I thought it was cool that they did that, and they didn't really give a shit. Like
yeah.
they just like they do their thing, and they don't take shit from anybody, and then they do well. I don't know if
Oh,
you're a fan of them or not, but yeah, that's just like a one of those bands that I think did a good job of that.
oh hell yeah, dude. I remember when Backcountry came out and
Yeah.
like these guys just came out of nowhere. Well, okay. So I should, say first, I didn't really go out and find new bands.
Hmm.
That wasn't really just like I loved music and I was just listening to the same old shit over and over, but I loved it, and it was like different albums and stuff like that. And then um the internet comes out with like Pandora and like
Hmm.
back in the day, like Groove Shark. I don't think anybody even knows what fucking Groove Shark is. It's pretty much it's like a playlist. If you don't know, guys, it used to put your playlist like on there, and then you can share it on like MySpace,
Right.
and it would have your Groove Shark playlist and shit right there. So
Yeah.
like but yeah, so until pretty much until I found the Doors, that's when I started going out and looking for music. That's when I started to like, go out and, yeah, find new stuff. So whenever I say they came out of nowhere, it's kind of like, kind of treat that as like, I would listen to like the top 40 shit of the time,
Hmm.
pretty much. So
Yeah.
when it reached that, it felt like they came out of nowhere. I'm sure there were they were a band
Yeah.
for a long
It's
time.
it's true though. Like, they did especially like, a band like that where every band is kind of harvesting their own local following and growing until they get to a point where they break into the mainstream. And they
Mhm.
do kind of come out of nowhere because you don't see them if you're not like living in Orange County watching their shows like at
Yeah.
the local
And
venue.
the majority of people are listening to
Yeah.
what is fed to them,
Yeah, like the
and
the global charts or whatever it may be, or the, American charts or Canadian charts, whatever it is. But yeah, so it makes sense. I totally know what you mean. And like that record and that song was their big breakout. Like Backcountry was huge. Like that video, and
Yeah.
it was a big deal.
Yeah, and like how you say like they kind of made fun or they look like they had a good time. Like they showed that in the videos as well, and it's just crazy how like they're so fast, but they're so technical as well. Like you
Yeah.
can like their musicianship is just amazing. Like their music is just amazing. And
Yeah.
and then
absolutely.
like the voice, like the strong voice, like goes like it's amazing. Events
Yeah.
Unfold. Uh,
Hmm.
I wasn't a huge fan of them, but the
Hmm.
songs that were out, I was putting on repeat, like
Yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. Um, Zach, so when you said you started with your other bandmate, and Jack, you started with your other bandmate.
Hmm.
Um, Zach, what was it like in that first, like when you guys all finally come into, like the four of you get into the room and not just jam just to jam, but like, okay, we're gonna start a single. Which your first single was at the Say It Anyway?
First single we ever released was called "I'm So Bummed Out Right Now."
Oh, that's
That
right. That's right. Yeah.
that's our
Hmm.
first song. We wrote when we first got into the room together. Um, me and Clay had a couple of songs that we were, like our first songs that we ever wrote. But pretty quickly, after the four of us came together, none of us knew how to write a song, but um, honestly, looking back, it was kind of impressive how quickly we started writing together. And we did a pretty good job in our early years of kind of figuring out, song structure. I think it's just because we all love music so much that it kind of gets
Mhm.
ingrained with you, how a song should be written.
Mhm.
And we actually wrote um, two of our first four songs we ever released, "Talk to Me" and "Mermaid from LA." We wrote those songs within a year and a half of being in a band together. And we kind of just had them as songs that we would play live until we eventually recorded them in 2020. But it was so exciting. Like it was just pure excitement of doing something that a lot of people don't get to do,
Mhm.
and being fortunate enough to have that shared experience, and playing in a band where there's this full sound that you can't experience it without playing with more than two people.
Hmm.
Like having drums and bass and guitar and vocals and keys, and being able to actually, be like, oh, there's a bass line. You don't have to stop playing guitar to write the bass for it, or, switch off and figure everything out. You could really hear, a song played as you imagined it in your head for the first time. And it was an incredible experience that I still love so much to this day. Like writing is probably my favorite part about being in a band, honestly. It's probably my favorite part.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was honestly very euphoric, and it's really matured over the years.
Mhm.
Especially now, I feel like we're always at our best these days. But yeah, it was a really cool experience, one that I hold very close to my heart. With those first days of, getting together and getting in a room and being able to hear the songs, for what they actually are.
Yeah, and Jack, like how was it, you know, did you have any concerns at all before you guys started actually writing down like well, we're kind of used me and my other bandmate I'm sorry, what's his name again?
His name was Jordan, who I played with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you and Jordan, like we're making like this kind of music. Like, yeah, you guys had like a feel for each other, but is there any concerns going into there? Think like maybe you're thinking,
Well,
I don't know if they're gonna like my
yeah.
shit, you know?
Yeah, well, no, that's actually funny because it's definitely true, and it's definitely something that Zach kind of talked about earlier, where like we had a lot of differences in sort of the type of music we wanted to create and we wanted to make.
Hmm.
But I would say that like one of the things that I remember about those days was like Zach and Clay were writing songs and they were coming up with lyrics and melodies and parts to songs. Jordan and I weren't writing any songs until we met Zach and Clay. We were just playing covers of other songs. So we never actually had ventured into that experience of writing a song, but them writing songs inspired me to be like basically like if they're writing songs, like I can write a song, like, like it inspired me.
Mm,
And the best thing about the whole experience for me was like trying to write my own songs kind of in my bedroom at home and then bringing them in and being really nervous about it, but then playing it and these guys being like, dude, that is awesome. Like, that sounds so good. Like, let's work on it. Let's do this. Let's do that. Like, being really excited about it. I always just feared that then that would be like my main concern was like, I wrote these songs, these like parts to these songs, and I brought them in. And I was always concerned that like they were going to hate it or like they weren't going to vibe with it or whatever. But that never really was too much of an issue. Every time we wrote a song, whether it was like me and Jordan's vibe or Zach and Clay's vibe, it was always a collaborative effort to make it a collective thing that we all were a part of.
hmm.
And everyone's so supportive. Like we supported each other so much in those days and still to this day support each other so much that like we're so comfortable and we can be vulnerable around each other and it really elevates the writing process for me.
Yeah, I think it started kind of like the maybe the musical influences were kind of a little bit far apart, and we would
Hmm.
always make them work into like a Bealby Point song. Like Jack and Jordan's songs were kind of more strokesy, more alternative, more kind of indie rock, and mine and Clay's songs were more kind of rock oriented or even some like country aspects to
Mm.
them. And then over the years, it's slimmed into we all have this, we all bring our influences, our outside influences into the band still, but I think we've really gotten to a point where we've found our sound as a band,
Mhm.
which is something that was always told to us. They'd be like, people would see us play, and people that we respect and some mentors we've had would be saying, you guys are great, but you have to find like your guys' sound a little bit.
Mm.
Because
Hmm.
yeah, because I'll just add on to that a little bit. Like in the early days, we were all trading, besides Jordan, Zach, myself, and Clay, our lead guitar player, we were all writing songs that were all sort of a little different directionally,
Hmm.
and like genre wise, like a little bit, just they weren't the same style of music, but they all
Hmm.
kind of melded into one thing eventually. But when we first started doing that, we would have like Zach would be singing vocals on a song that he wrote lyrics for and that he kind of worked on himself. And then I would be singing lead vocals on a song that I wrote. And then Clay would be singing lead vocals on a song that he wrote. So when we played our early shows, our style would like switch, not like immensely, but like somewhat drastically between each song. It would like the style of the music would kind of change based on like whatever that person was kind of into at the time or was writing sort of inspired by.
Yeah.
And since the vocals changing from, because a band is somewhat identified by like a lead vocalist who like you can recognize the voice of them, and then the lead guitarist you can recognize the riffs they play, or like a drummer you can recognize their part or whatever. But when like Clay and I would be trading, he would be playing rhythm guitar and singing, and then I'd be playing lead guitar, and then he would be playing lead guitar, and I'd be playing rhythm guitar and singing. So like we're changing our formation in the band
Tone
and
wise
and
and
tones are changing because like my lead tones are going to be different than Clay's lead tones and vice versa with rhythm and like when you're switching it up a lot it was really fun and we loved doing it because it gave everyone a chance to like contribute their own ideas in their own way, which we do now, but it's a lot more controlled and collaborative.
well, it goes back to the Strokes concert.
Yeah, so like learning kind of that, if the Strokes were doing that on stage so their whole career it probably wouldn't have really worked out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
Hmm.
We
you kind
have
of have to choose your lane and once you stick to your lane, you can excel in that lane as opposed to like trying to do everything a
yeah.
little bit all over the place.
It
So,
came
yeah.
came down to defining roles in the band and like what each person is what their strong suit is.
Hmm.
Once we identified that, and started working that way, it all that was like the last thing that kind of clicked into place, and it all made sense after that.
It's amazing to kind of hear you guys like talk about each other and or like talk about your band. Like you guys, it seems like you all are really cohesive and you know, you like together and like you can hear that in the sound as well. Like it's just it feels like just one, you know, just one sound just
Mhm.
made by, you know, of course it's different instruments or whatever. But yeah, it just sounds like just that one sound. It sounds like you guys
Cool.
and
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
and yeah, and like yeah, the Strokes, I for sure that they I can hear the influence in the Strokes, but like I said earlier, like you guys definitely have your own style to that. So
Cool.
it's really nice to hear that. You know, you guys are a team, you know,
Yeah,
you're
I mean
Absolutely.
that's a big part of our band because like Zach kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, like some bands, you know, they're not, and we I don't know, I can't speak from experience because our band's always we've always been like best friends, and we the you know brotherly love part of it is like a huge reason why we're in a band is because like we're four best friends and we also all love music and we all want to be in this band, so it's like it all works out.
Yeah.
But there's examples for sure that we've heard of and stuff of bands that are they're not necessarily best friends and they don't hang out, and the only times they see each other is like when it's time for band practice or like so it's a cool opportunity for us, and we're like very grateful and we feel like we're very privileged to have this experience of being in a band where we're all best friends at the same time because
Yeah.
it is kind of rare. Like some, and I mean, like I said, I can't speak for these other bands because I'm not in those bands, so I don't know what they're like. But I think it would be pretty accurate to assume that like a lot of bands, when they're on the road a lot or they're like, they're doing all this stuff, like they start to grow apart a little bit,
Yeah.
and maybe they're not like as best friends as they used to be or as they seem on the outside, maybe. But I'm kind of just assuming. I don't know for sure,
Well,
but.
we did have someone tell us, and I won't say who, but I had someone tell me personally. We did our first tour last year, and we're about to announce our second tour in next week actually.
Yeah.
And we did a loop from Vancouver, BC, all the way up to Edmonton, which is a province over, and kind of all the way back. And it's a pretty common route for Canadian
Like
bands,
Western Canada
Western
route kind of
Canada.
thing. Yeah.
And I had someone tell me uh, that's the loop that makes bands break up.
Oh yeah,
The death call
Death
it
Loop. Yeah, because
because
the Devil's Loop.
yeah,
yeah,
it's very Canada's super spread out, and all the major cities are very far away from each other, so it's a ton of driving. It's
it's
like
like a 14-hour drive to Edmonton from
yeah,
from
it's a
Vancouver.
long drive.
Yeah.
So that's why that person told me that. But it was funny because like we went on tour last year. It was like the most fun I've ever had. It's we all work and that's our vacation pretty much is when we play shows and we go on tour. Like that's what we use our
Mm.
vacation days for and our time off. So it was great. Like it was,
Hmm.
one of the most fun I've ever had, and um, we're very excited to do it again and do it
Yeah.
more, and hopefully come to the US next year.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh
Yeah. We
yeah.
really want to come down to the US at some point. So yeah, we're trying to make that a priority.
When you guys finally get into make like your last single, Fairy Tale,
Mhm.
um, like how far apart did you have that between your last single? And what kind of what conversation do you have when you go into like creating a new song or like a new single, a new album? Like what kind of conversations do you guys have together, you know, before or like a little like well yeah, before you're gonna get into that like yeah, what kind of conversations do you have about making new music?
We've always stressed that communication is, it's the most important thing in any relationship, and being in a band is kind of like being married to three other people. So there has to be a lot of communication. And I think we recorded Fairy Tale just basically exactly a year ago. And just before we started writing that song, a few months before we recorded it, and right before we started writing again after, basically coming off of a bunch of shows and not writing for a while, we had a couple of very long conversations about how can we improve at writing and how can we improve in our day-to-day activities and how can we strengthen communication even more to help. And I think Fairy Tale is a really good example of all of that conversation paying off. We started
Hmm.
writing in a different way. Like we used to, I would say we wouldn't leave every stone unturned, and we would kind of settle for a song structure once we had it, and we wouldn't necessarily experiment maybe as much as we should have. And now, after recording and writing Fairy Tale, we just spent a lot of time, thinking about like every possible way that we can make this song as cohesive as possible, from structure to individual parts, really emphasizing how everything is supporting the vocal and how everything is mixing together. Like me and Jordan, our bass player, making sure that we're really in line and everything is complementing each other. And, just really spending more time on pre-production and pre-recording and just making sure that we don't leave any stone unturned when it comes to writing these songs. And we've gotten even better since then, I think.
Hmm.
It's like a constantly evolving process. At least that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's like it's interesting because sometimes, and it's hard to say for sure whether you make the right call or not, because music is subjective, and it's sometimes it's like, I like this, and I want to do it this way, and if it sounds good, it sounds good. But there's definitely scenarios where, for example, with Fairy Tale, where like we took the song apart and we sort of put it back together in different ways. And like
Mm.
one of the examples I was thinking of is like, I think there's like sort of a drum break part in that song
Yeah.
where after the second chorus, where Zach does some drum fills in between parts. And I can't remember exactly how it went, but like when we first wrote that song,
It was like 40 seconds
that
longer.
drum part was huge. We had like basically like a whole drum solo there. Like that. I think
Mm.
we did the riff like twice through or something and gave Zach like two or three more fills in there until we went to that outro part.
Hmm.
Or maybe that outro part wasn't there yet. I
The
can't
outro part
remember,
was
but
different.
it was different. But like that's just an example of like, that part was really cool. And I really liked like letting Zach go crazy on the drums and having that big moment. But when you kind of peel it back, you're like, yeah, yeah, no, like we kind of want to get back into the song. And like, that's an opportunity sometimes. Like what we talk about a lot is like if we have these ideas and songs that we're like, oh, well, it's maybe not the best idea for the recorded version of the song, can always like make it into a live thing where like when we play the songs live at a show,
Yeah.
you can make it a little different and use those ideas that you formed when you were writing the song that didn't make it into the final version of the song can be a part of a live version of the song or
Yeah.
something, which is really cool. And we've done that in the past, and I think we're going to keep trying to do that because that's a cool way to like, you want to get the song in its best form when it's online and people are going to listen to it in its like truest form. But when you're playing it live, you can really like do whatever you want. So you
Yeah.
can add in those cool ideas
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
and give it some spice and like it makes it more fun for the audience because they get to listen to it and they're like, oh, that's not in the real song or like whatever. Like whenever I see a band and they do something like that and I'm a big fan of theirs, I know their music, I'm like, that's not in the real song and that was fucking cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it stands out.
I had to get kind of used to that in the beginning. My first concert, well, my very first concert that wasn't a part of like my church because I've grown up around music my whole life. My dad was a drummer. I would go to band practice with him. My mom, she loved to sing growing up. The two albums that I remember having when I was well, like that I would listen to in full was the first Mariah Carey album that my mom would listen to, and
Nice.
then Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
cool.
no doubt. Nice.
And those those songs are just like Tragic Kingdom is one of my favorite albums, not just because I've been listening to it forever, but it's so good. Like it's raw No Doubt, It's before No Doubt became, you know, I guess corporate, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Like
those
That's right.
first albums.
or mainstream, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, those first albums from bands like that, like there's a lot of examples. Are like, sometimes down the line things get a little different. It's not the same as it was when they first kind of formed. I feel like
Definitely.
that's a common thing. But it also, it's not always the case.
Yeah, yeah, it's not always the case, but like kind of where I was getting with that. So I remember my first concert was a Christian concert. Her name is Rebecca St. James. Shout out Rebecca St. James, you're amazing. Back in the day when I was probably like 10 or 11, but my next one was with my wife. Um, we had gone to a Warp Tour here in San Diego. I'm from a small city or a small town, about an hour and a half away from here in the desert. I'm a desert rat. And yeah, so like we came up and we that was back when you would still have to get it was maybe like 2 years behind like GPS, having a GPS in your car.
Did
So you
map.
still yeah, so you had a map quest everything or like Google Maps kind of thing. And you had like your directions or whatever. And I missed an exit. And so we get back and I'm listening my one of our favorite bands at that time was Attack Attack, and they were playing. We didn't think that they would be playing first because it was Attack Attack, and
Hmm.
they were big at the time.
Yeah.
So like we get there and Attack Attack is playing, we can hear their music. I'm like, no, no. And but yeah, we ended up watching Gym Class Heroes as well. But it was kind of like, wait, that's not how they play it in in the CD or like in the
Yeah.
album like that you could
Yeah,
hear on the radio or whatever, but still, yeah, it was awesome. It was like it was them, it was them doing their thing.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I yeah, that's amazing. um excuse me. um Jack, what kind of advice do you have to like a maybe a new band, um like maybe not even up and coming, but maybe you know somebody that wants to start a band, or a few friends that want to get into a band, but they really should I, like what's some advice that you can give to somebody like that?
I mean, I would say above all, if you want to be in a band or you want to make music in any capacity with a group of people, I think the best thing to do is just like practice with those people as much as you can
Yeah.
and prioritize that. Like if you really want to, it sort of depends what your goals are with music. If you want to just kind of do it for fun and stuff, like that's a good place to start because that's how we started for the most part. Like I mean, we started playing together because we were like, this is fun, and you have a couple beers and you just like jam. Then eventually it becomes something more. But what really helped us in the beginning, especially in terms of like gelling as a group and like getting more comfortable writing together and stuff, is just like spending time together.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing to do is to find those people. And like that's something that I mentioned earlier, which like we're so lucky to have. Because I have friends of mine, and I'm sure Zach can attest to this too, is like they're talented musicians and they have the skills and the attributes to be in a band, but they just can't find the right people. So that's like really hard to do. And I think like I don't know exactly what the best advice I would have for that is. I mean, put yourself out there, go check out local bands in your area, go to shows and try to network and meet people that play music. That's always a good place to start for that.
Hmm.
And then once you find those people, just get together as often as you can, make time for it and play together, whether you're writing songs or just playing cover songs. Good place to start to cover songs because if you can find a common ground, like I love this band, oh, you love this band too, like let's play their songs, start there and just get in the room together and play lots and
Hang out.
hang out and just like yeah, get comfortable in that space. That's sort of what I would say like to start is just network in your area, go to local shows, find people that share your interests because you can find those people for sure
They're
at
out there for
like
sure.
we got lucky with our own band because we were best friends and kind of grew up together somewhat like in the same area and stuff.
Hmm.
But I know from experience, like going to these local shows when we were starting out and in the like, the last 6 years of being in a band and like just going to shows, you meet a lot of people that are in the same place as you. They're like, oh, we're in a band or we're starting a band or it's our first show and like we're learning and like, I've met a lot of people like that. So the best thing to do is just network and go to shows. You got to put yourself out there and talk to people.
Yeah.
And unless you're lucky enough to, have your two bandmates that live down the street from you jamming at another house, like right over there. If you have that, that's great. But if not, you got to
Yeah.
put yourself out there. You got to go out. You got to check out live music in your area. find artists on Instagram or whatever, or just look up like local bands in whatever town you live in and just
Reach out to people.
yeah.
And we have a lot of friends that are talented musicians and they like wanna do it, but there's that hesitation of anyone wanting to put themselves out there in a creative capacity or a fear of rejection from reaching out to people or, releasing your music. And the thing is you just have to do it. There's no
Mm,
other way around it.
Hmm.
And ask yourself what's the worst that could happen? Is
mm,
it's like a simple rejection.
yeah.
It's not that bad. It's really not that bad. The world's not going to end. You just have to do it. You really just have to find a will, and if you want it bad enough, it will happen. Like hard work definitely pays off. We're all firm believers of that. You just have to do it and enjoy it, and make it something important in your life, and good things will happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you know, and that seems like I've said it on the show also, like it seems a little cliche also, and but like you said, like work hard, put
Hmm.
yourself out there. If you get rejected, if you get rejected 10 times, that 11th time will feel amazing.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like think about the like well, another thing for me is think about the like take the little wins also.
Absolutely.
Um like right now every single follower that I've been getting or that I get, I'm like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because like you want to like you don't want to put too much on yourself. Like it's okay to fail. It's okay to have doubt. It's okay to feel self-doubt, but it's not okay to stay there. And you got to
Yeah.
find a way. Everybody has a different way. Like my way of stopping that self-doubt and getting my confidence up was just simply watching Facebook motivational videos.
Yeah.
You know, I was in a really dark place at one point in my life, and the simplest thing, just somebody saying you're like, you got it. You know what I mean? Or like, just work hard. Like, think positive. Thinking positive, it's not that hard.
No,
Like you just have to train your mind to be that way. And the way
absolutely.
I train my mind to be that way is watching motivational videos, watching positivity videos, watching like, even just like happiness, like just look up happy video,
Hmm.
and it's it makes a difference. It makes it once you're able to. I still have negativity in my life because I'm human, of course. We're all gonna have it. I just had a breakdown like a month ago because I was feeling sorry for myself. Like, nobody likes me. Nobody's gonna want to talk to me. Like who cares? Like I was telling my, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Like I was like, nobody like like nobody gives a fuck about me. Blah blah blah. But after I had that, it was like, okay, you said it. It's not necessarily true because you haven't even gone out and tried to reach somebody. You haven't even gone out and tried to talk to anybody. Like, how are they not gonna like you or not gonna, gonna see you in a certain way, or you think, nothing's gonna happen if you don't try.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And what I've learned is if you offer help, you know, people will take it. Not everybody, but people will take it, and that's what this show is. This show is helping like I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to get big, you
Yeah, of
know?
course.
Yeah, everybody has aspirations, right?
Yeah, like I would be lying if I said that. But, you know, you have to start somewhere, you know. You,
Exactly. It's just
and,
about
and
starting.
and if you fail, that's a great learning moment there. Um, I love to fail. It's kind of like have you ever watched Meet the Robinsons?
I don't
No.
think so.
Okay,
Oh,
it's a
actually, no,
Pixar.
is that an animated movie?
Yeah, it's a Pixar movie.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I have seen that with the kid. He's like an inventor, right? Or
Yeah, he's an inventor and he goes to the future like to try to fix something that somebody had
yes.
broken or
No, I
something like
have
that.
seen that. Long time ago, though. I haven't seen it in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, and one of those scenes that actually like kind of caught me too was like, oh man, I failed. And like everybody was like, yeah, like yay, and like there, you know, there was like a party going on because he failed. And he's like, well, what are you guys like talking about? Like I failed. And pretty much the message was because you failed, now you know not to do that and to try
Mhm.
something different. You
Yeah.
know, like it's a learning experience. So,
I mean,
um,
we can relate to that in so many ways, man. Like it's the same thing for us in terms of like growth and learning from your mistakes and starting somewhere. I mean, like you said for yourself, you're lying if you say, you don't have big aspirations. Sorry, I'm just plugging the laptop in. I can
oh,
hear
you're good, bro. Don't worry.
but you're lying to yourself if you don't say you have, aspirations. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to get to the next step. But I think like something you commented on, which is really important, is like take those little wins and
Yeah.
like, you know,
That's a big thing in
be
our band.
yeah, and just be like be excited and be happy with what you're doing and like look forward to it and enjoy the moments that you have. And little things like you get a new follower. It's like that's big. Like that's good. Like
That's a
this is a
win.
new person that's gonna hear my music or hear my podcast or whatever it is that you're doing.
And
So
someone that I don't know as well.
yeah, well
Exactly.
that's the thing. It's like that's like you reaching out to us, like we're like, holy shit, like this guy wants to talk to us, wants to do a podcast. Like that's super cool. Like we and it's networking, it's like learning about you. Like, now we have this friend, Mikey, and
Oh yeah.
we're homies now. Like it's cool, right? Like,
Yeah.
you learn a lot along the way in terms of just like putting yourself out there and networking and meeting new people. It's a big part of it.
And
So
we've failed. I mean, if there's anyone out there that's like starting a band that's like, below where we are, you wouldn't even understand how much rejection we've had over the course of our band. Like
mhm.
thousands of rejections, no answers. We get it all the time. Booking tours, booking shows, recording, anything you can think of, we've been rejected for at some point. But, you just have to remind yourself that, okay, maybe this isn't the right time for this.
Mhm.
You keep pushing towards it, and eventually you'll reach your goal for sure. And
Yeah,
and take those little wins that you get along the way. And in our band, it's a really big thing to reflect on those. Every couple months we look back, whether it's like statistically you want to look at it, or gaining a new fan, or having a cool experience that happens to you, or a small win here or there. You really got to use those as stepping stones to get to the next spot. And I think, like you said, thinking positively. There's so much negativity in the world, and on social media and in content and news and everything else, that it's easy to get trapped in that. But if you can really just focus on the positives and just do what you want, you can definitely make it happen. We're firm believers of that.
hell yeah.
Jack, um, the last question I like to ask is what is Bealby Point's message to the world?
I would say our message to the world kind of flows a little bit along with what we were talking about just a few moments ago, but it's really about, I think, communication and genuine nature and connecting as a people. It's a little bit broad, but that's kind of what most of our music is about. I mean, lyrically. And I think the idea behind our band as well, just sort of like metaphorically, is like we're four best friends that came together because of music. And we want to have other people that come to our shows or follow us online or just listen to our music have that same experience of coming together and enjoying something together as a group, as a collective. Um, and I think that's like something that we're kind of losing a little bit in today's day and age. And it's again, it's a little cliche, but like, everyone's online, everyone's on their phones. You lose a bit of connectivity, and a little bit of that communication, that genuine face-to-face interaction. Um, and there's a lot in that. Like there's so much to glean from that. So I think that's kind of our message is like, you know, be yourself and be your most truest self and love every moment of it and embrace it and go find someone else that's going to do that as well and
And then you come to our show,
enjoy it together and come to our show. No, but
and then
yeah,
you enjoy with us.
and then enjoy with us. But yeah, that's that. I'd say that as a overarching message of our band is like that's kind of it's in our Instagram bio. It's like approachable guys making cool music. Like we just
Yeah.
want to be connecting with people. We're nothing to be afraid of. We're not
Yeah.
gonna bite you. Like like people are kind of a little bit. I don't know. I find like a little timid, or not with us, but I just mean in general, like of going out and putting yourself out there, like meeting new people or like trying new things. But I think, it's a cool experience to do that. We've done that with ourselves with this band, and
Yeah.
we want to connect people and also inspire like other people. Like it was a great question you asked about like advice for new bands because, you know, this experience overall, we're just getting started, but so far it's been like an amazing experience for us in our personal lives having this band and learning and growing from it. And I want to give people the inspiration to do it too if they ever have the incentive to try to do it. It's an awesome experience. And I think if anyone wants to, you can do it. If you believe in yourself and you put yourself out there, you can do it.
Yeah, we really the best part about the band is connecting with people for us. Like that's our like if you come to one of our shows or you DM us and you want to talk about anything, like that's what we love to do is we love to connect with people,
Hmm.
like-minded people. And we, that's what we're passionate about. We want to do that on the biggest scale that we can. And we've all been touched by music personally and as a collective. And, if we can have our song be a high point of someone's day, and it helps them get through something, or they can relate to it in some way that makes them feel happy or sad or whatever it may be,
Hmm.
then like that's what we want to do is we want to be, like uh, a special part in someone's life,
Hmm.
and we want to, connect with them as much as we can.
Yeah, music is a connective tissue that
Hmm.
everybody, you know, in one way or another. I mean, maybe there's some people out there that are not fans of any music. I find that hard to believe, but maybe there's some people like that. But in general, everybody that you
Yeah.
can think of is a fan of some form of music, and it's like a huge part of everybody's lives. And it's a connective tissue that keeps us together. Whether it's like Zach said, like a high point in someone's day, or maybe it just makes you think, or it starts a conversation, or something like that. But yeah. That's
That's
that's that,
beautiful.
that's Bealby Point right there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Connective tissue. I never heard of music, a metaphor for music like that. So it's true because like it does connect all of us. Like going to my first show, I was kind of scared of like rowdiness because
Yeah.
I'm just not that, not that guy,
Mhm.
I had my time when I was
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I had my time, but overall, I kind of I'm a chill person,
Mhm.
I I like to laugh. I enjoy laughing. I enjoy smiling. I enjoy joking around. Um, you know, like not that I'm a different person doing this or like, out in the world. Here I'm just trying to be a little more professional, right? And,
Yeah. Of course.
trying
Yeah.
to have a conversation.
Yeah. For sure.
Um, but like yeah, I love to joke around and I love to do that stuff. And, it's music like like I said, you go to a show, everybody's there for the same thing.
Hmm.
Everybody's there for one goal, and that goal is to go to a badass show and
Yeah.
have a good time. And
Hmm.
like
Exactly.
that's it. And in the crowd, like it's funny you say that because in the crowd, everybody's together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Everybody's trying to get to the front. They don't really care about the people. I would say 90%. 90% don't really care about
Depends on the
about the
show.
people.
Yeah.
Depends on the people
Depends on the
there.
show
But
also.
yes, I know what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah.
Um, but and total strangers.
Hmm.
Total strange. I've high-fived, I've given hugs,
Yeah.
I've given cigarettes, I've given joints. I've received them, like
Yeah.
and I love going to a show and somebody's like, "Hey, like hey, like you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah," or
Yeah. It's awesome. Like
you
I,
know
that's what I
like
was gonna say. connecting to people in the crowd is so funny. Like when you're at a show, like, you'll be like singing a lyric to a song or like you're yelling it and you look to your right and there's a guy who looks right at you, sings the lyrics right in your face. He's like, that's happened to
Yeah,
me before, like where I'm like
yeah, hell
singing a
yeah.
song or like, and like it's the chorus of the song and I look to my right and there's some guy like in the crowd, like whether it's like, sort of a more aggressive moshy kind of thing, or if it's just like you're just bobbing your head and doing it, you can connect with someone like that. It's really cool, man.
Mhm.
And like that's what music's all about.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Um, Thank you guys. I really appreciate you joining the show, and having this conversation with me. I had a great time. Is there any music you have coming out soon, or any shows you have coming up that you want to plug? Anything like that?
Yeah, we're gonna be releasing our next single is gonna be coming out in April. It's called Better Off Eventually. And that's kind of our music on the horizon. And we're going on tour. It's announcing February 5th. We're going to be playing in Vancouver, which is our hometown, BC, March 22nd. And then we're going to be playing in Edmonton, Calgary, Revelstoke, Kelowna, Nelson, Kamloops, and
Penticton as well.
Penticton.
We're doing just like a kind of a similar tour to what we did last year, which is just kind of heading from our hometown out to Alberta, to Edmonton, and then coming right back, sort of doing like that, the death loop, as we
We're
called
doing
it
the Death
earlier.
Loop
We're
again.
doing it again because it didn't kill us last time,
So we're
so
gonna
we
have
have
to
to do it again to prove that it's gonna be okay and that it's not a death loop. So yeah, we're doing that at the end of March and in early April. And then just after we come back from that tour, we're going to release that song eventually. That's kind of our next few months here.
Yeah. Follow us on at Bealby Point on everything.
Yeah, if you want to check us out or want to see what we're up to, we're always posting stuff, whether we're releasing new music or we're playing shows or not. We're always posting like versions of our songs on our Instagram or on our TikTok. We're Bealby Point everywhere. It's BALBY POINT. And yeah, we got lots of stuff. We're always talking about posting covers of songs that we do like in different ways or whatever. So we got lots of stuff to check out. So yeah, check
And
us out.
and hopefully we'll be in the San Diego area. It's maybe sometime
Hopefully.
rather
Yeah.
Yeah,
soon.
we really want to try to come down and play in the States at some point. It's definitely next for us on the horizon here. We gotta do this. We're doing Western Canada again, and we're trying to sort of solidify ourselves in Canada. And then once we get through that, next step is to head just down south and cross that border and head into the States. So we're really excited to do that eventually. That's going to be really fun.
Oh yeah, and I can attest. I've been to different shows in different cities in California. San Diego is where it's at. Not just because it's like, I mean, San Diego is the best fucking city in the whole world. Like, my humble opinion, you know.
Cool. Well, we got to come down, man. I've never been.
Yeah,
We got to come down there.
hell, it's like it's the most beautiful. It's, everybody's pretty much, nice to each other. And I mean, of course, there's different places in San Diego County where you kind of have to stay away from, but that's everywhere.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like the crowd, just the crowd in San Diego, especially playing like at a smaller venue like House of Blues or like the Observatory or stuff like that. Like they're always hyped. Like we're always hyped. I've been to shows in Orange County. I've been to shows in LA. I've been to shows Sacramento, like I've been to a bunch of different shows. We've actually probably seen like 35 people live or 35 different shows live. My wife and I, that's our
Cool.
thing. Concerts, casino, and the restaurant. So, um,
Nice. That's cool.
but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
San Diego, you would love playing here because we get down. It's great.
Well, I'll DM you about some venues, and if you can make it out, then we'll hook you up with a shirt or something.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you some merch and we'll get you a ticket when we're down there. You can come check us out for you and your wife.
Perfect. That'd be great. I can't wait. So thank you again, guys. It's Bealby
Yeah.
Point. We got Zach and Jack from Bealby Point, and how we say at the end, be safe and be great. We share because we care.